Hi everyone. Our lesson for today is Chapter 1 Autotrophy and Photosynthesis. We will start with Activity 1 and 2 Significance of Autotrophy and the special conditions needed for photosynthesis to take place. Page 18 to 21. The objectives for these two activities are: we are going to define autotrophs, heterotrophs, photosynthesis, identify the mode of nutrition of each of the autotrophs and the heterotrophs. We will indicate the color obtained with iodine test in the presence of starch and in its absence. And finally, we will indicate the role of sodium bicarbonate and potassium hydroxide. And we will be able to list the conditions needed for photosynthesis. At the beginning, let's define autotrophs. What do you mean by autotrophs? Autotrophs, they represent the chlorophyllc plants. What do you mean by chlorophyllc plants? Chlorophyllc plants mean green plants. They are the green plants that use mineral substances in order to produce organic substances by photosynthesis. So the green plants, they use water and mineral salts from the soil, and they take carbon dioxide, and by this they will be able to produce their organic substance, which is starch, and also they will be able to release O2 that is used by us in order to respire. What about heterotrophs? Are they the same? Of course no. Autotrophs, from its name, auto, it means self. They are self-feeders. They are able to produce their own food. They are producers. While heterotrophs, they are the living organisms that obtain their food material from substances produced by other organisms. So they do not produce their own food. They are the ones that feed on the food that is produced by others, such as the fungi. They are not able to produce their own food. They feed on the food that is produced by the green plants. And we will define photosynthesis, which is the main idea for today. What do you mean by photosynthesis? Photosynthesis, it is the process through which the chlorophyllc plants, they produce their own food, which is starch, the organic material starch, and release O2 by absorbing energy from the sun, CO2, water, and mineral salts. So when the green plants, they absorb the energy from the sun, and they absorb water and mineral salts from the soil, and they take CO2, they will be able to produce their organic material starch, their own food, and they will be able to release O2. This mechanism represents photosynthesis. So we can simplify it more. Photosynthesis, it requires a chlorophyllc or green plant, which is characterized by doing photosynthesis. Why? Because the chlorophyllc plants, they possess chlorophyll. They have a chlorophyll. They have a structure called the chloroplast, which contains chlorophyll, and this green pigment chlorophyll, it provides the plants with a green color, and the second role, it allows the green plants to absorb the energy from the sun in order to be able to make their own food. So photosynthesis requires a chlorophyllc plant, which contains chlorophyll, minerals, water, carbon dioxide, sunlight. When all these conditions are available, this green plant will be able to produce its organic matter, which is starch, and release O2. Here in this figure, we are showing you the types of nutrition. If I asked you about the mode of nutrition or type of nutrition for a given plant, if I gave you a plant and showing you its conditions, or any given about this plant, and I asked you about the type of nutrition or the mode of nutrition of such a plant, you have to answer either if it is an autotroph or heterotroph. If the given plant is producing its own food, in other words, if it is doing photosynthesis, we say that this plant, its mode of nutrition is autotrophe, self-feeder, where it's able to produce its own food by photosynthesis, by using inorganic substances and light energy. While the heterotrophs, they are the ones that obtain energy through the intake and the digestion of the organic substances. They do not produce the organic substance, they feed on the organic substance which is produced by other organisms. Okay, so types of nutrition or mode of nutrition, as if I'm asking you if it is an autotroph or heterotroph. So here is an example of an autotroph. It is showing you the green plants because they are able to produce their own food, and the heterotrophs, they are called consumers because they consume the food prepared by others, while the autotrophs, because they make their own food, we call them producers. They are producers because they manufacture or produce their own food, while heterotrophs, they are consumers because they consume the food prepared by other organisms. Here it is showing you an example. For example, here the green plant, they are synthesizing their organic material by the absorbing the energy from the sunlight and making photosynthesis. And here we can say that this animal is a heterotroph because it is ingesting the organic molecules that are produced by the green plants. Why? What is iodine test used for in this lesson? As I said, that when photosynthesis takes place, it leads to the production of organic material starch, which is the food for the green plants. How do we test the presence of starch? How can we know that this green plant is producing starch? We use iodine test. Iodine test, so if I asked you to indicate the importance of iodine test is used in order to identify the presence of starch. So we get iodine test, iodine solution, and we add it, for example, on the leaf. If its original color, the original color of the iodine solution is a brown orange color. If the iodine test was applied and the leaf gives us a dark blue color, this indicates the presence of starch. So iodine in the presence of starch, it gives a dark blue color. It is a positive result. And if there is no starch, iodine test gonna give a brown orange color. It will remain the same as its original color. It will be considered as negative result. So positive result, it means we obtain a dark blue color due to the presence of starch, and iodine in the absence of starch, it will remain the same as brown orange color, and it will be considered as a negative result. Here you have to know that when all the conditions of photosynthesis, what are the conditions? As we said, the plant needs CO2 from the air, it needs water and mineral salts from the soil, it needs the energy from the sunlight, and it needs the chlorophyll. In other words, it should be green plant because it contains the chlorophyll, which allow it to absorb the energy of the sun. If all these conditions are available, the plant will be able to synthesize its own food starch and release O2. So as a conclusion, what are the conditions needed for photosynthesis to take place? We need water, we need mineral salts, we need carbon dioxide, we need chlorophyll, we need sunlight. You have to put in your mind that if any of these conditions is missed or is not available for the green plant will not be able to make photosynthesis, and by this iodine test gonna give a brown orange color. A dark blue color will appear if all the conditions are available for the green plant. Here is a figure. It is showing you a dark blue color, okay, indicating a positive result. It means there is carbohydrate detection or starch presence. Okay, and if starch doesn't exist, it will give us a negative result, which is a brown orange color. Here is a simple diagram showing you the conditions needed for photosynthesis. Here it is showing you that the plant, of course, you know that photosynthesis takes place in the leaves of the plant. In which part? In the leaves. Well, here it is showing you that inside the leaves, on the leaves, we have openings, small openings called the stomata, through which carbon dioxide enters, and it is showing you how the plant absorbs water through its roots. And here the sunlight is absorbed by the chlorophyll, where once it is absorbed a chemical reaction takes place. And finally it is showing you the products of photosynthesis. What are the products? The plant will be able to produce glucose, which is C6H12O6, or starch, and it's gonna release O2, oxygen gas, by the stomata. So the conditions that are necessary for photosynthesis to take place are sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, and water. Here it is a figure. If I've given you this figure, we have a party-colored leaf. What do you mean by party-colored? Half yellow, half green. Not all of it green. In which part photosynthesis is gonna take place? It will take place in the green part. Why? Because chlorophyll exists. When all the conditions are available, it is gonna give a it's gonna be able to produce starch by making photosynthesis. While in the pale yellow patch, yes, which lacks the chlorophyll, photosynthesis will not take place. Okay, here it is showing you when iodine test was applied. Yes, in the green color, in the green leaf, a dark blue color appears. Look. And while in the ungreen part, yes, in the yellow patch, the pale yellow patch, okay, it doesn't give a blue color. It remains a brown orange, indicating the absence of starch. If I ask you from this figure which factor we are studying, we are studying the importance of chlorophyll. This is an important document showing you how you can be asked about the conditions of photosynthesis. So here we are testing the importance of chlorophyll. Once it is present and once it is absent, what will be the result with iodine test? Still, we have to know the role of potassium hydroxide, KOH, and sodium bicarbonate, NaHCO3. What is the role of each of potassium hydroxide and sodium bicarbonate? Before mentioning the role, I'm gonna give you this figure and you have to pick out or conclude the role of each of potassium hydroxide and sodium bicarbonate from this figure. Look here at this plant. We have a green plant. These starched plants, it means that they didn't produce starch yet, covered by a polyethylene bag. Okay, in this plant, what do we have? They placed saturated sodium hydrogen carbonate. In other words, they placed sodium bicarbonate. Okay, and its role is mentioned here. It gives out carbon dioxide. It is releasing carbon dioxide. So this plant, okay, it is green, contains chlorophyll, it contains carbon dioxide, and it is taking all the necessary conditions for photosynthesis. What about this leaf? Okay, the same, but here we have soda lime, other words lime water, which absorbs carbon dioxide from the air. It is absorbing, fixing carbon dioxide. In other words, this medium will not be available with carbon dioxide because carbon dioxide that is available, it is absorbed by the soda lime that is present. So if I asked you which factor is studied from this document, which factor we are studying, we can say that we are studying the importance of carbon dioxide. You will see when it is available how the green plant is making photosynthesis, and when it is not available, the green plant is not able to make photosynthesis. So here, as you see, look at the growth of the plant. Here they make iodine test. Starch in the leaf, it indicates the presence of starch, while here it indicates no starch. Why? because in such a plant there is no carbon dioxide. It was absorbed by the soda lime, or we can say by potassium hydroxide. So no more CO2, so the green plant will not make photosynthesis, and by this it will not be able to release starch. So if we apply iodine test, it will give a brown orange color. While here sodium bicarbonate is liberating or releasing carbon dioxide to the medium, and this plant is capable to make photosynthesis, and by this with iodine test the green plant gives a dark blue color indicating the presence of iodine. So as a conclusion, sodium bicarbonate, yes, NaHCO3, its role is to release or liberate CO2. So you have to know, once it is present, it is producing or releasing or liberating carbon dioxide, while potassium hydroxide, KOH, or lime water, their role is to absorb or fix CO2. Still, we have the chemical equation of photosynthesis. If I asked you about the chemical equation of photosynthesis, the chemical equation is CO2 with H2O. Of course, on the arrow we have to write sunlight. In the presence of sunlight and the chlorophyll, the plant gonna produce glucose, C6H12O6, and release O2. And all of them, in order to be balanced, you put number 6. 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O. Here it doesn't need 6 because we have 6 carbon and 6 oxygen. It is balanced, and it releases 6O2. So carbon dioxide with water gives glucose plus oxygen. This is all for today. Thank you. Any question, please ask me.